Hey everybody, I just wanted to create a video to show you how I am customizing my brand new art journal. I've decided that I want to start keeping kind of a bound book in order to track my journaling, my art learning, my art journaling, all of that stuff. So here's this video. And it's definitely sped up. So I'm just going to kind of talk about the things that are happening on the screen as we go. So I got this book. It is a Dilutions book, and I'm sorry, yeah, Ranger Dilutions book. And so the pages are intended to be kind of thicker. I've realized they're not exactly as thick as I would have liked. They're not as thick as watercolor paper, but they're pretty good. They're meant for inks, and so I decided I could use some watercolors um, or even like acrylics on some of it. My Bombay, Dr. Martin's Bombay inks, those will work very well too. And so I decided on this. I was going to set my start date on the top and then make a little divider, and when I finish it, I'll put my end date on the bottom. Now, there's a lot of pages to this book, like lots of pages. So I like the fact that I could customize the cover. I'll probably redo it at some point in time anyway. It's not exactly artsy, it's very plain. And then I went in and on the first cover of the book, um, again, put down, what the book is and when I started it. And I plan on listing like all of the medium that I use, like whether it's watercolors or paints or whatever. Um, and then I got a little fancy with one of my flexible tipped pens. It's from Tombow, and it's kind of a brush tip, but it's more solid. They say it's a calligraphy pen. And one side has black and the other side has gray. And then I went back to my Pigma micron and put the start date, which I think I got wrong because I actually started, yeah, I put the 17th in here, but I actually started it on the 16th. And then writing out my medium and just kind of, thinking about how I want this to look in an archival sense down the road. I don't know that I'll be able to, unless I go back to Michael's and buy like a ton of these, I probably won't be able to have the same book every time, but this will be a good one. Right now I have like a lot of scraps and paper kind of floating everywhere and random half-filled notebooks because I'm a notebook junkie, and so I'm really trying to focus on just working in one book, and this one's it. So we'll see what happens. As long as I don't lose it. So here's some pages that I just did backgrounds with some watercolors. I used the Koi watercolor set on one of the pages, and then I use this other watercolor set, Reeves, and decided I was gonna kind of make some backgrounds first and see where I wanted to go from there. And now in this section of the video, I'm just kind of playing around with the idea of putting some white highlights in, and then you'll see later on I end up filling it in, and I'm probably gonna end up like collaging over this and just sort of whatever. But for now it was kind of fun to make it look cool. One of the things that I'm trying to get more diligent about in my creative process is actually, working in a journal format. So what I've done after this, you'll see there's like a page that I kind of worked on for a while, and then I put the date on it. And I probably should have scanned it or taken my pictures or whatever before I did that, in case I wanted to use any of the elements in anything or make some patterns or whatever. But you'll see where I ended up putting the date in it to kind of keep the journal feel, I guess. So right here I'm just using a jelly roll 10 in white and kind of trying to make things stand out a little bit. Again, I'm not sure I'm 100% happy with it. You'll see that I'll end up filling in that 2019. So another thing that I'm trying to work on, obviously, is to create more videos for YouTube. And I would absolutely love to hear from you guys what it is you'd like to see me make videos on. So do you want to see art journal pages like start to finish, which is what's going to happen here in a moment? Or would you like to see more like explanatory how-to videos? Do you like the speed painting, or do you want to see like step-by-step, slow, regular speed with explanations, that kind of thing? Um, Let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications and all of that jazz so that you can see what's going on the channel. Originally, start of this year, I had a goal of hitting 300 videos this year, I think. 100 or 300, I can't remember now. But I know I'm not close to it yet, but it's still a goal. And it's still something that I probably wouldn't have gotten this far yet if I didn't set myself that goal. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to try to keep building my little library archive here of videos. I also have art videos that my daughter has taught, which she really loves to do. So those might make their way onto the channel sometime soon as well. So here I am just coloring in the 2019, and I promise you real soon here we'll be done with that, and I will be opening up the book to show you the beginning stages of what I'm doing here. So there's my, that was my first page or the cover of the inside book. And now I decided I was going to choose this page and just start doing some doodling and sort of working out ideas, testing some different types of flowers and leaves, and sort of laying out color, maybe reinforcing the color. So right there is a brush marker, which I really love because it actually has nylon bristles and works very much like a real paintbrush, only it's using marker ink instead of paints. And I got it on Amazon. It was very inexpensive. I'll put a link in the description of the video so you can see. I'm not sure if they're as good as the Arteza brush markers, which I've heard a lot about, and I would love to give them a try. They are water soluble, these, and so while it looks like it's a pretty solid color there, you'll see as we get further in that they get a little more transparent when you add an aqua brush. And I think I'm going to speed the video up just a little bit so you can kind of see how things go here in a much more rapid pace. This entire thing took me about an hour and a half to pull together. And so far I've got it condensed down to about 25 minutes, but I think I'm going to try to tighten it up a little bit more and see where we go. Okay, so here we go. This is much faster. And I've been playing with these different abstract sort of floral shapes. And here's a good example of what happens when you draw with the marker and then kind of hit it with some water. Like I did with that purple one there. And then I blot it up a little bit. I'll come back in later, add a few more lines. These remind me of some poppies that we have out in the front yard. They were here as long as I can remember. This was my grandmother's house. So these purple sort of puffball poppies were all over the yard. And I remember being a little girl and breaking the seed pods open and seeing there's like a million little poppy seeds inside. And I always thought that was one of the coolest things. So we decided we were going to plant a bunch more poppies. And these kind of remind me of that. And then just doing some more doodles and little rainbow shapes. Kind of combining like some of the more popular doodle designs. I wouldn't call it Zentangle, mainly because I don't want to get sued, but that's besides the point. It's a whole other video for a whole other day. But really it's just, you know, a lot of popular doodle shapes and designs. I've kind of been doing that my whole life. Pattern doodling and that sort of thing. So, but here's there's where I'm making some more outlines in the purple flowers. I've outlined the blue, the orange, made some doodles. I've got some yellow here. Just kind of, you know, playing around. I really love how this whole piece came together, and you'll see in a moment as I start adding these little marks on the page. Some shadows, some other leaves and things. I have this thing about leaves. I'm very particular about the way that I do them, and this one in the middle of the page is more symbolic, I suppose, of the fact that I put leaves in everything. But I usually have a much more stylized way to do it than what you see on here. But again, I was just experimenting and playing and having fun. So then, oh, nice product placement, my Pure Leaf tea. So then I went back and kind of darkened the center of the blue flowers. And you know, I feel like when you do flowers, they don't necessarily have to be very realistic. They can be flowers that you have seen in your dreams. They can be flowers you think you've seen somewhere. They don't have to be a certain color. They can be very bright. They can be very muted, very abstract. I have never been good at realism. I've never been good at painting realism. I've never been good at drawing realism. It's just not something that I kind of don't draw what I see in front of me like many artists do. I tend to just draw from my imagination more and kind of plop things down where I think it might look good. One of the things about acrylics is that you can always, once it's dry, you can always just go over it. Watercolors, to an extent, you can do that, but not really. Like you lay down some black watercolor, you're not going over that watercolor with another watercolor. Maybe with some acrylics you could, or maybe some really dense ink or something like that. But really it's not that easy. So watercolor is kind of a new venture for me. So anyway, as you can see, I'm just kind of making marks. There was a big jump here because there was a time when I thought I was recording and apparently I wasn't. So I apologize for that. But as you can see, I'm mark making at this point. So dots, circles, lines, you know, adding in some white to help kind of brighten up the page where the dark blue and the black were. And then adding some black lines into the brighter pages, the brighter spots on the page to kind of tone it down a little bit. So I like to have like a balance in there. As you can see, there's some watercolor leaves. Those are a new thing for me. So I'm still kind of playing around with how I want to incorporate those, but I really love the way that they came out. And I ended up with like a weird sort of reddish pink stylized rose there on the right hand side, you can see. That was a happy accident, as Bob Ross would say. So yeah, I'm just kind of playing through, and we're almost done here. So I'd love to hear what you think. Here's where I'm putting the date, and it's done. Thanks.